My name, and politics is our game, and we are going to be doing lots of politics and public policy this evening because we have as our guest Pat Brady. He is the state GOP chairman. We are taping this show on November 17th, 2012. And you know, a lot of people would like to talk to Pat because, you know, they lost a number of seats. We were just talking before the show in the congressional side, which is the emphasis of Pat Brady. It is now 12 Democrats and 6 Republicans across the state of Illinois. You lost 4 seats, Pat? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you've been here 3 years. And on the state side, which will somewhat your responsibility, the Senate went from, I think, 35-24, which was bad enough if you're a Republican, 35 Democrats, 24 Republicans, 59 total. That's a little trick to remember how many there are, to now 40-19. So the Senate Republican leader is Chris Radogno, who, by the way, we haven't seen in a few years. We understand she's busy. Because, you know, if you're going to go from 35-24 to 40-19, lose 5 seats, that takes a lot of time. You couldn't possibly have time to come out and do that little show, Public Affairs, that airs in, well, generally around the state of Illinois, so in every district. We don't take this personally, but you have to wonder, and we will be asking about that, is Chris Radogno, has her time come and gone? Should she be replaced? Not because we have any personal animosity to Chris, but how many times can you lose? 40-19, you can take the Republicans now and put them sort of in your bathroom, and that's about what you need to admit for the state Senate. On the Republican House side, Tom Cross has been the Republican leader there for now 10 years. And what has he gone to? It's like awful. He lost 7 seats. They were calling something like 6 and 6 because they were going around collecting money, the Republicans were, and saying, we can take the majority in the State House. We're 6 down, we win 6, we have the majority, a new speaker, get rid of that bad guy, they'd say, Mike Madigan. What did they do? They lost 7 seats. And then they lost, as we said, 4 seats on the congressional side. So Pat Brady, state GOP chairman, you've been there for 3 years. Is there any reason on God's green earth why Chris Radogno should stay as the Senate Republican leader, Tom Cross should stay as the House Republican leader, and indeed, Pat, you're a good guy and we love you for coming out here, but some saying you should go too. A clean sweep, and then you'll get lots of time to talk because this is a bit of a rant, but the people are saying this. This is not just Jeff Berkowitz. These are Republicans who say, you know, Republicans talk about accountability. They talk about the private sector. Pat, you're in the private sector, okay? You've been an assistant state's attorney, but you've been with Deloitte. You're now with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. You've been with the law firm of Barnes & Thornburg. You know those are all private sector firms. If somebody was the head of Deloitte, somebody was head of PwC, somebody was the head of Barnes & Thornburg, and they had 10 years of losses, do you think the managing partner would stay there for 10 years?
Well, I think you need to take a bigger picture view. And with Tom and Chris, you know, it's up to the caucus on what they're going to do. Their caucus down there, and I serve with the pleasure of the Central Committee and Senator Kirk, who is the highest ranking Republican in the state. And so if you take a bigger picture view, at least insofar as it applies to me, the last 3 years we have made a lot of progress. Mark Kirk was elected, 2 constitutional offices, picked up House and Senate seats that we ultimately lost some of those this time around, but a lot of county board races. So we also put in a statewide get out the vote infrastructure that wasn't sufficient, obviously, at least at the congressional level.
Wasn't sufficient? Wait a minute. That's a bit of an understatement.
No, it's not. Bob Dole lost by 1,000 votes. Rodney Davis won downstate. All these races were close with the exception of the Bigot race. So in a state like Illinois where the map had been rigged, I'm not blaming it on the map, but those were tough races. Bob Dole had the most Democrat-leaning seat of any incumbent in the country. So we've made some progress. Is it enough? No, we need to make more. Are we being very introspective on where we are going forward? Absolutely.
How can you say when you go from a margin of 6 seats down in the State House to now, a margin of 13 seats down, you're down 71-47.
Sure.
You didn't win the 6 you said you would win when you asked people for money. You lost a net loss of 7 more. You didn't win, as some people thought. They said it would be tough with the map to win the Senate majority, but people were talking confidently of winning 2-3. It's not that you didn't win 2-3. You lost a net loss of 5.
Yeah, it was a bad night. Bad election cycle. Terrible for
Professional
us.
side, you really should have won the Dole seat.
That-
Yes,
well,
it was.
wait.
No,
No,
Dole was
no. Let me finish.
Yeah.
That's the most Democrat seat of any incumbent in the country, and Bob Dole it's a tremendous loss. I don't think not only for Illinois to the Congress. He's a great candidate and was a great congressman, and lost by less than 1,000 votes. So that was a very, very tough race, and he ran a great campaign, and we worked hand in hand with him. So you can't say that that's a seat we should have won. They set the National Democrats, their whole focus was Illinois. So we were fighting against everyone, and I'm not making any excuses for it. We fought hard, and we didn't do as well as we thought we would. But that Bob Dole seat was a very, very tough.
Right, but if putting it in football terms, and I know you know football a little better than I do, Pat. I mean, look, the first thing I want to do is that Pat Brady is like one of the really nice guys in Illinois Republican politics, and one of the really good guys. I'm beating up a little bit on him, and somewhat it's fun, and somewhat because that's my job. I'm supposed to do it.
Yes. Well, you
But-
got to, you know, you
No,
part about
but I just want to say
no,
that
you
that-
got to be accountable. Listen, we obviously whatever we did didn't work. We are taking a top to bottom, side to side look at what we did and what we didn't do, and we have to do better. And it starts with branding. I think our Republican brand nationally is really bad right now. And I mean, there are a million things we need to work on, but that's certainly one of them.
Well, we'll get to branding in a second, but I did want to give you a compliment for a change.
No.
Look, folks, he comes out here, you know, he's got a family, he's got kids, he's got all that. So when we talk about Redonia, where's she? She doesn't have time. Where's Cross? He doesn't have time in 10 years to be here. Where's Dole? He didn't have time to be here in 2 years. Bigger, you know, she went to New Trier High School, for God's sakes. She can't come back here? She loses by 18 points. Like, it's a gift, Judy. You know, we gave it to you, a half an hour of earned media. You're being outspent maybe by Foster. I don't know. You need all the help you can get. Just come out here. You know, we air in your district now. But who comes out here? Pat Brady.
What's my job? My job is to come out here.
And it's their job. It's
No.
their job. It's their job to come here because they need me more than I need them, okay? When you get outspent and you're a state rep and you're a state senator and you get outspent by 4-1, what is it? Susan Sweeney. That's the name, right? We were
Oh,
trying
yeah,
to think
Susan
of her
Sweeney. Yeah.
running in the.
But let's focus on the future
No,
and
but
where
I'm
we're going to
saying,
go. You know,
we got to. If you want to go to the future,
right.
and we'll get there, you got to know what you did wrong. And I'm just saying, Sweeney needed me, okay? Susan, you needed me, okay? You should have come here, you should have laid out your position, and you would have done better. You know, and Bob Dole, I'll say this, yes, it was a tough race, but you had a Heisman, that's the point I was making. You know football better than I. You got like a Heisman winner out there in Bob Dole. The Democrats told me that Robert Dole is a better candidate than their candidate, Brad Schneider. I'm not saying, Brad, don't get upset. I'm just reporting what they said, and you lost. Tough district, but you had a much better candidate, much more experienced, selling the idea that he was independent. That's a tradition that goes back to Mark Kirk and John Porter. Look, if I know anything, I know the 10th. You had it for 31 years. It's been a tough district for a long time. It didn't happen just overnight. Sure. Porter did it. Kirk did it. Dole could have done it. He didn't have the people around him. That's okay. Stop at the ramp, but the point is, has the Republican Party now hit rock bottom? Because I thought in 2010, you guys had hit rock bottom. Now it's 2012.
2010, wait. We won. Mark Kirk won the Senate seat at statewide office. Dan Rutherford won. Judy Bartopinka won.
But you lost.
No, let me finish. We picked up 6 in the House, 6 in the Senate. We won county board races, Rock Island, downstate. We had huge wins. We didn't get the governor's race, and that is what we're paying for today.
Right, that's my point. So you didn't get the one thing that was key.
No,
no, that was key. You know in your heart you would trade the treasurer seat, you would trade the comptroller seat, and a heartbeat for governor.
Well, because
so
of
what did
happened
you
with
get? You lost redistricting.
We got a
and you're
United
right.
States senator.
That's what. Yeah.
And we got 2 constitutional
You did get the senator because if
county board seats all over
Kirk
the
was
country.
a better candidate again. If you have a good athlete who outperforms somebody else, you don't make a big fuss out of it. He's just a good athlete, okay?
Sure.
We know Mark,
He's
okay?
great.
Yeah, so give it to him. But the party itself was the one who should have carried the governor over the line.
No, that's not true at all.
It should have been Bill Brady, yeah.
No.
Yeah, because Bill's out
And
there.
you don't understand the fundamental party operations. We had the
So Bill Brady is the guy who lost it? That's what you're telling me?
No,
Blame
but
Bill?
I'm saying-
Somebody's got to be blamed.
Well,
Look,
we'll
any
all
Jewish
take the-
family knows this. You got to have blame. You got to have guilt. You know?
We'll all take the blame for our losses, and like you say, there is accountability. But yeah, that's what we're paying for now. But let's take a lesson away from that. We need to nominate a candidate in 2014 who has a broader appeal throughout the state, who can actually win in the areas where Mark won.
Who might that be?
There's quite a few. Bruce Rauner's talking about running. Aaron Schock, I know Kirk Dillard, Dan Proft, I know, he's been on your show. He's
Brady,
talking about doing it.
Dan Rutherford.
I haven't heard from him.
Is there any new blood there? Is Bruce Rauner the only new blood, and is he tested? See, we've asked Bruce to come on the show. This is a bad precedent, Bruce. He doesn't return his phone calls.
Well, I think too.
For like 2 years.
Well, we got to.
Bruce, are you getting caught up there?
Remember, in his business that he has, you have to keep a real Chinese wall between government and what his business, his private equity business. So I think that could be part of the reason. But is he new blood? Absolutely, he's new blood.
What does he believe? What does he believe? Give me Bruce Rauner, the essence. You're the state GOP chairman. You're up on this. Give me 3 things that are important that Bruce Rauner believes.
He believes in the principles of the Republican Party.
What are they that he believes in?
Limited government, a government we can afford, and we need to be the party of opportunity. And the only way we're the party of let me finish. The only way we are the party of opportunity is if we get government off our backs. But I think Bruce is going to be the kind of candidate, and I'm not shilling for Bruce, that believes that we need to be more inclusive and have a broader appeal. He's a guy that puts his money where his mouth is. He's been on the forefront of education reform in the state.
What does he believe in education? Does he believe in more charter schools?
I think an all-above strategy.
You think?
I don't want to.
We don't know because he's not here talking.
Well, he'll be able to.
Pat Brady's here talking.
He'll be able to articulate his position as well. But what we do know about him
Time's
publicly.
a ticking, Bruce.
Well, anyway, he's a guy that has done a lot in his lifetime, self-made guy, and a lot of philanthropic work.
Is he likable?
Yeah.
Would you like to sit down and have a cup of coffee with this guy?
I have.
Would you have a beer with him? Seriously?
Sure.
Would you rather do it if you were objective? And
coffee and a beer.
I know you can't be objective, Pat, but you know this stuff better than anybody. And if you were a guy who was not a Republican or a Democrat and you were an independent and you had a choice to having a cup of coffee or a beer with either the current guy in that seat, Governor Pat Quinn, or Bruce Rauner, who would you sit down with?
Rauner in a heartbeat.
You sure now?
Look at let's go 2004.
Bruce, you just had to just come on over. We'll give you a cup of coffee.
2014. Here's going to be the troika without Obama at the top of the ticket. Here's what you're going to see: Mike Madigan, who's been down there since Lincoln, Pat Quinn, who's been down there since the early 70s, and John Cullerton, who's been down there since the 70s. I mean, if it weren't for hair dye, that could be an ad for an old folks home. I mean, the same kind of government that we've had the last 35, 40 years that has brought the state to the position it's in. So to answer your question, the Democrats, nothing new. We're going to have a very diverse, exciting, reform-minded ticket. I think we're going to have a very good 2014.
You got to win the governorship.
Absolutely, and that'll be our focus.
And you got to have a guy on there who everybody knows why, if the pensions, state employee pensions are a mess, if it's $100 to $200 billion unfunded debt that the state has, they have to know why Pat Quinn is going to do less about. Bruce Rauner is going to do more about it than Pat Quinn.
Okay, well,
or Dan Rutherford, or Aaron Schock.
What about Madigan? Madigan's been down there for 40. He'll be 75. Been down there for 44 years in 2014. Talk about accountability.
With that,
I mean, has he done anything?
Then you either have to have a guy like Tom Cross, if that's your Republican leader, who's out there speaking across the state of Illinois. And he says, well, sure, I'll come on, Jeff, because you know why, Jeff? I want to tell people that the Republican Party wants to raise the retirement age. That's the fair thing to do for state employee pensions. They want to increase the employee contribution. They want to cut the cost of living adjustment. And you know what? I'm Tom Cross, and I'm telling you, Jeff, we're going to elect people who are going to do that. Now, Tom, have I said anything that you disagree with?
Well, I'm not Tom, and I'm not.
No, I'm not. But that platform. No. You got to tell me. Does the Republican Party believe in those 3 things that I just said?
Listen, I cannot. I can't put words in Tom's mouth. He's had a bill down there for 2 years on pension reform.
Put words in Pat Brady's mouth.
No, but we do know this for a fact that what the Democrats are going to do with this is what Madigan wants to do is he wants to shift all this mess onto suburban taxpayers. He's going to shift the entire $100 billion pension liability.
It's a bit of an exaggeration.
No, it's not.
It's a bit of an exaggeration.
No, it's not. It's exactly what he plans on doing.
Well, it didn't. The point is, Pat, that argument, if it was made, and it really wasn't made well, it didn't persuade enough people. That's why you lost 7 seats on the House side. That's why you lost 5 seats. My little exercise to you right now was to say, if you folks had done that, if Cross had done that, if Susan, what's her name? Okay, Sweeney. Always said, Susan, we love you, okay? I want to go, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, Susan, we love you. And so, but if you'd come on here and done that, if you'd gone to the Journal Topics Forum and done that, if you said, this is the difference between my opponent, Mayor Moylan, and me, you would have won. And you know what? You would have won a number of seats, but you didn't do that because the geniuses in your party, and you can decide who they are, who ran these campaigns, decided things are so bad in Illinois, we don't have to say what we're going to do. They'll just come to us. And you know what?
I don't think you're
the
right. 'Cause
point
I
is
think,
you
especially on the Senate side, I think they were pretty clear on what they were going to do. They had a whole agenda on what
even
they were
Dan Rutherford, who used to be a straight shooter, who used to come on the show and say things. Look, I know, I didn't know he sees Dan, but I asked people, I said, he's been around, he's been going out trying to get people elected. And I say to him right after, what did he say? I don't know. No, if he had said those three things, they would remember. Look, Dan, this is an early warning sign. People who are critical of your friends, right?
I'm not going to join
in a free market, look, Jack Roser, you know Jack, big supporter, big Republican. He sat where you're sitting just 3 weeks ago or so, and he said how he made money, how his company made money. He learned from other people when somebody criticizes something, take it to heart and change it, change your product, because it's like doing a survey, okay? The free market, you want it to respond. So Rutherford, Treasurer Rutherford is treasurer, right? Mm-hmm. I'm your friend. Politics, journalists can't be friends. So I'm not really your friend, but I'm being friendly when I tell you you need to articulate your views. You need to come here, you need to go all other places and say what it is you want to change.
Well, I agree with your point.
Am I right? That's what Ronald Reagan did.
I'm not aiming at Dan Rutherford or anyone else, but we do need to better articulate our message. Our message needs to come across, because if you look at the polling number, the exit polling data, on the issues that are important to us, being a pro-growth economic party of opportunity, party of upward mobility, we win hands down on that. But our brand is like worse than New Coke right now, because have been this caricature of us that we're not.
What? Okay, so you're saying the brand is not known.
The brand, well, no, and it's already.
Or what's known they don't like.
Well, it's been unfairly, I think, but politics isn't fair. You got to deal with the reality. We are seen in a negative light by a lot of people. A lot of that's our own fault when you have candidates in these U.S. Senate races that are saying these stupid comments about rape and abortion. I mean, it's just idiotic
on the national
stuff.
level,
On the national, that spills down to us. The thing, though, I think, a little bit to your point, that I think we have to point out, though, in our positive message too, is just how inept the Democrats have been here. I think that needs to be part of the message. You don't have to lead with that, but
but that's my point. When you say you want to increase the retirement age, you're saying they lowered the retirement age. They made these pensions something that are not sustainable, and you've got to correct them. But you see, that's actually saying something. Now, if there's a state employee out there, they're not going to like that. If there's a union out there, they're not going to like it. If it's a public sector union, they're not going to like it.
Let's make a distinction here. The public sector
unions. Okay, I should have said that.
Yeah, because the trade union should be with us, because we're pro-jobs, pro-growth.
But if you're a public sector union, you're going to make an enemy. And you know what, folks? You're going to have to make some enemies. Politics is addition. I understand that. But you've got to take a position. You cannot waffle. You cannot be a wuss, okay? Capitalism for the People, we had this guy on, Professor Luigi Zingales, just recently. Here's a book. You find that at one of our underwriters, the bookstall. They had several copies there. The point is, this whole book is about crony capitalism. It's about Luigi came over here 20 years ago. He's still an Italian citizen, but he came to the University of Chicago because it's a meritocracy there. It's a meritocracy at that time in America. His point is becoming less a meritocracy. Sure. We're now deciding things based on how much you can lobby on the national level.
Okay, right here then. Right here. Here's a good
a
good Republican platform. Though right now, everybody on the Republican side at the national level is screaming for a comprehensive reform of the tax code, which will eliminate a lot of that crony capitalism. We need to get that done, like Reagan did in 1986. Right. But it's funny, he's Italian, right?
Right.
If we don't do it, if you go to Italy and you want to work out of your home office, you have to get a license for your computer? I mean, this is the kind of socialistic society we're heading to unless we reform this tax code.
It's not just socialism. As he said, in Italy, they invented the word nepotism, okay? Seriously. Luigi said that.
I know.
So, but the same thing here, again, from the bookstall, you can find this here. This is a book you may have heard of called Golden.
Is that Natasha's book, or is that?
No, this is Jeff Cohen and John Chase from the Chicago Tribune. It's called Golden, how Rod Blagojevich talked himself out of the governor's office and into prison, okay? Find that at the bookstall in Winnetka. Rod Blagojevich, a nice, easy target. What did he do wrong? What did he, again, we're fair to everybody, so Governor Quinn, you come on here and say, but I'm just giving a little gratuitous free advice here to the Republican Party. You've got a nice target there. Pat Quinn was the lieutenant governor for this guy. Run on that, say, what did he do? What did he do to stop, Rod Blagojevich? What kind of financial mess did Rod Blagojevich create?
Well, they both did. It was Madigan. It was Blagojevich and Madigan.
It's like shooting fish in a
I know,
rain
but they
barrel.
agreed to the
If you can't win the governor's race, and your name is Bill Brady, and you're running against Pat Quinn in 2010, and you've got an education system that basically sucks across the state of Illinois. You've got a Medicaid system that's not working. You've got a pension system that's not working. You've got people leaving Illinois, jobs leaving Illinois. You got the Illinois Policy Institute and the Heartland Institute cranking out research for you. If you can't win, ladies and gentlemen, I could win the governor's race falling out of bed.
Well, you can't lose suburban women, and that's where we lost. That's where Bill lost.
No, you can blame that and say, look.
No, I'm not blaming. Those are the facts, and I've seen the numbers for 2 years.
And why did Bill Brady, if you're right, assuming you're right,
yeah,
and he lost suburban women, why did Bill Brady lose suburban women?
He didn't campaign up here enough, and the social issues got out ahead of him. I mean, we don't have to be a party we don't have to be a pro-choice party, but we got to recognize that issue. And I'm pro-life. I'm Catholic. Right. But we need to emphasize the things that people don't like, which is like partial birth abortion, or the
parental notice.
Parental notice.
Which Pat Quinn says, he doesn't want to restrict a minor daughter's right to have an abortion. He doesn't want to say that she can't have an abortion even though she hasn't told her parents. He doesn't believe that partial birth abortion should be restricted, something that the late Senator Patrick Moynihan called close to infanticide. Now, why isn't Bill
Obama's even worse than that. He's about as far.
I'm not going to say worse. I'm just saying, if you're just talking politics, as your point, you've got a nice in. Those suburban women, they're not so enthusiastic about their minor daughters not telling them about an abortion before they have one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You could be for it, you could want it, but you don't want her going off and doing that without the guidance of the parent and so forth. Pat Quinn says no, he's not going to restrict it.
That's right there.
I'm not saying Pat is wrong or right. I'm just saying doing politics here. It's like Casey Stengel said. Remember him? Mm-hmm. Manager of the old Mets. Okay, you're a young guy, so you remember. But
yeah, I remember.
Casey Stengel would walk around and say, can anybody here play this game? That's what I feel like I'm doing. I'm talking to the Republicans and say, can anybody here play this game?
Yeah, we obviously didn't play it well last time. But
so why didn't Brady come up? Why didn't you call up Bill and say, Bill, you got to be up here more. I'm telling you, I'm Pat Brady. I'm chairman of the party. I know this area. Bill, you're going to lose. We don't want you to lose. What do you need, Bill? You need some help here. You need some support. You need some offices. You see, this is how it's played here, Pat.
I think you just look at what Mark Kirk did very successfully and why he won, and that should be the model for any of our statewide candidates. And Mark spent a lot of time up here. I mean, he's from here, obviously, but it was in the voter-rich suburban areas.
So the point is, it's a disaster. You had a disaster.
Yeah, we had a bad night. Bad night? Well, let's look.
It's a disaster. Do you have trouble saying those words? Would you agree with me?
Well, those are your words. Those aren't my words.
You wouldn't call it a disaster?
No.
You would call it a bad night?
We got to look forward. Yeah,
you had a bad 10 years is what you had.
No, yeah, we had a good election cycle 2 years ago.
Except you lost the governorship.
Yeah, but we won a lot. I'm not going.
And you lost redistricting.
And well, that
led to all of this stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're paying. Listen, no doubt that losing that governor race put us where we are today.
So let's look forward. We only got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What's the most important thing that we haven't covered that you think you want to tell the people here across the state of Illinois?
First,
Brady, state GOP
first and
chairman.
foremost, I mean, we're being right now very introspective on what we did wrong, and I think what we're seeing even right now is we have a brand problem. Not so bad in Illinois because the Democrats have the worst brand in the world, I think. But we need to be more inclusive. We need to make it clear to everyone, that we're the party of growth and opportunity, and we need to reach out more. And I think we're working on that. But we also need to improve and work on our ground game, which is going to be a big part of what I'm going to be involved in.
Okay, and you need to start getting specific nationally and on the state issues.
Yeah, I agree. Even nationally,
here's something. Here's another book from the bookstall. So you can plot your campaigns that way. Go over there and think about it from the bookstall in Winnetka. The Oath, the Obama White House and the Supreme Court by Jeffrey Toobin. The Obama White House and the Supreme Court. Well, now you got a guy, Barack Obama, who's going to be there for 4 more years.
Jeffrey Toobin. Does anybody really?
You don't like Jeff?
No.
Why
I
not?
don't.
Why not?
I just don't think he's.
Have you read this book?
No, I wouldn't read anything.
You wouldn't
Jeffrey
read anything
Toobin
he just
wrote.
says?
No, I listened to him, and it's very.
Okay.
Very-
What do you think about the Supreme Court now that Barack's going to be there for 4 more years?
Yeah, we
what
could
kind
lose-
of appointments will he make? And
I'll
will
go
he-
far left. That's what he's done
if
so
somebody like unfortunate happens to one of the conservatives, whether it's Clarence Thomas, we're not saying we hope we don't want anything to
far.
happen.
No, I mean he's got a chance to make 3
Thomas
or
to
4
Scalia,
appointments.
they're getting up in years. Something could happen. He could get a chance to change the court, not just replace one liberal with another, but replace a conservative with a liberal.
Yeah, that's where he didn't get it last time.
So
which
what's
he could.
going to if that happens? What's the
He'll
Republican
go, I think,
Party
as
going to do?
far left as he
are
can
they
get.
are they going to be able to filibuster that in the states in the U.S. Senate? They've got 55-45
I don't
right
think they
now.
have the numbers, do they?
They what?
I'm not sure what the numbers would be. I'm not sure how much they can do. I'm sure that.
No, I mean the Republicans should have numbers. They've got 45 U.S. senators. That should be enough. If they stay together, they could block any judicial appointment, right?
I kind of doubt that they
Unless
will.
some people say the Democrats may remove the longstanding 100-year filibuster,
Yeah, they're trying to do that. I don't.
200-year filibuster.
I don't know, but my guess is that there won't be a filibuster. But I do believe that, and you have to talk to someone who knows a lot more about the Senate than I do. But the president has a real opportunity to change the makeup of the court.
Back to the state side, and back to what's happening in Illinois. So right now, just now, we're taping this on the 17th of November. There's a veto session coming up. There's a lame duck session coming up. People are saying the Democrats are going to push through some kind of pension reform. It really won't address the problem, but it'll be something they can run on back in 2 years later.
We could have done this show 2 years ago, and you know what they did? They went down there in a lame duck session, pushed through a 67% income tax increase, which was supposed to pay off our past due bills, the $8 billion. Not one nickel went to pay off past due
Go
bills.
affirmative. Say you were the leader on either the Republican Senate or the Republican State House. What would you say? Would you say what I said? Tell people they've got to do 3 major things: pension reform, and you've got to also move toward a 401k. Would you tell all the Republican senators and Republican members of the House, run on that, talk about it? If they ignore you, lay the framework, say you wanted to vote on that, you don't get it, then you run 2 years later and say, this is all the stuff they should have done.
Well, we did that 2 years ago. I mean, that's what there's been a bill down there for 2 years.
Pat, you got to be honest. You're not running on these things. I don't care if there's a bill sitting.
Well,
on
there's
somebody's
2
desk.
questions. Are you running on it, or what they did?
You need to run on it. You need to tell everybody out there, what do you want to do on the pension side? What about school vouchers, school choice? Is it time to give people choice? The African American community want that. The Hispanic community want that. Non-traditional areas. Rauner, you want to do that? Dillard, don't talk $500 tax credits. School vouchers, school choice. Milton Friedman, Capitalism and Freedom. You want to read that book? Take that book. We give it to you from the Heartland Institute.
Thank you.
Are you ready to talk about school vouchers, school choice? Are you ready to say we've got to really address these things, get to the root of the problem? Or are you going to say, oh, we'd like reform, and then just cut it? They don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No, you're right, and that's part of the branding problem, and the thing that we need to do better. And
Should
I
they
agree
be
completely.
focusing on school vouchers, school choice?
Absolutely. I think
Should they
that's
be
a great issue.
focusing on charter schools?
All of the above. Anything,
Should you be reaching out to African Americans and Hispanics, say, we want you to become a part of this party. The Democratic Party, the teachers' unions are hurting your kids' education. We want to change that.
Absolutely.
Rutherford should say that. Rauner should change it. Dillard should say that. Brady should say that. Proft will say that. Adam Andrzejewski should say it. Have I left anybody out? Is there somebody out there who's new? We haven't heard of you, but you'd be good. You'd be better.
Well, we've got somebody like Darlene Sanger, who's relatively new.